Right.
Hello and welcome to the Dungeon Masters Guild House. This is a weekly podcast. Asterisk. I think there may be a break between them with the faff of like moving around. But this is a weekly podcast where I, Matthew Whitby, sit down with amazing creators of the DMs Guild and just chat about their creative process. And this week, I'm always honoured, but I feel particularly honoured to be joined by the one and only Fil Kearney. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
No, honestly, it's been a pleasure. I think I was looking back and the library of sort of works that you've done, and obviously we both worked on Adventures in Chronomancy.
That was killer.
And yeah, dude, and you did the cover for that as well.
Yeah, thrilled.
It's amazing and stuff. I think it was such a good. But no, so you're doing well. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you. With the plague destroying the world, it's a good time to be able to hunker down and be with the people that you care about and prioritize the things that are important to you. So,
or listen to above average podcasts.
That's right. Catch up on your Whitby.
Yeah, but no. So just sort of diving straight into it then. For people who may not be so aware of your work, what are you sort of known for on the DMs Guild?
Mostly stock art and commission work, but you can look at DTRPG and just type in Fil Kearney and you'll see, 30 some odd products, maybe 20 some odd of them is artwork that I was commissioned for, and the other 10 of them is a slew of silver to electrum sales that I did with Inkwell Ideas, basically doing side quests, which were these little one-page adventure nuggets. Basically, it's like, here's the setup, here's a bullet point list of different antagonists, here's a bullet point list of challenges that you would face during the one-shot adventure, basically. I got like maybe 50 some odd of those, and then on the DMs Guild itself, I only actually started doing DMs Guild work at the beginning of 2019. So I just passed my 1-year anniversary of being actually active on the DMs Guild.
I would have got you a cake had I known.
Most of it is stock art, but I've just started putting out actual content like Adventures of Chronomancy was a couple months back where we collaborated on. Yep. And then there's universal spell points in high magic, as well as 5-color mana spell point variant rules for knights and tricksters. I
believe it came out just very recently.
Yeah, last week. Both of those came out last week. I've been building the 5-color mana spell point system for literally over a year. And it's gotten to the point now where I'm starting to actually roll out all the different pieces, and the full thing will be hitting in May before Theros is released, which is perfect time. I didn't even know Theros was coming. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, lucky time. I imagine, like, obviously you have Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, so it's kind of nice that they're sort of keeping the MGT universe going.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a growing audience. There's a lot of really cool Discord and Reddit communities that are really involved with the MTG conversion into D&D, and they're a pleasure to be around just because their depth of lore. I mean, I'm really mechanics driven and visual, but lore and like character and stuff background, like that's not my strength. So it's really cool to be able to tap into a huge community that just is brimming with creative ideas.
So I must admit, so I'm already just hearing you talk. I've got like 3 different strands that I want to pull on of like conversations. But first and foremost, you're actually technically the first artist that we've had on the podcast.
Happy to be.
So I need to sort of like before I sort of dig into like why or like the process of essentially redesigning the spellcasting system, which is again a sort of very mechanical things that I feel like my designer mind can sort of grip onto. I'm curious about when it comes to like your like creative process for art. Outside, like even when it comes to commissions, like when someone comes to you with a commission, do you prefer them to sort of be very sort of prescriptive, or do you like sort of having that sort of creative freedom to sort of wiggle?
The more freedom they trust me to have, the better the end result is going to be. My creative process is very intuition driven in that and I live stream on Twitch often, Fil Kearney, and you'll see me going through the creative process where I'll take the blank page, and then whatever ideas or information I'm provided, either from art direction for the page or about the character or scene from the private commission, I'll have that information in my head, and then just a preface. I've been literally drawing since 4. Like little dotted lines of bullets chasing each other, all the way up to the point where, I do cover art for books. So that's been a 40-year evolution. And when you've invested 15, 20, 30,000 hours into a craft, the body knows what to do. My job is to get the heck out of the way. So what happens is I'll start with a blank page, and like a 300 DPI, I use Photoshop only. So at a 300 DPI, I'll use a 3-pixel brush as a pen, and I will literally just start. This is what I do, and I don't think at all, but it creates this cloud of lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I can use both the positive, like the actual black line space, and the negative white space to like turn off my brain and let my vision fade out so that shapes start to pull out of it. So if I'm thinking I need to do a Drow Archer, like if I know the end result is Drow Archer, I will let my brain turn off and create line shapes and movements that I know in the end is going to be an expressive archer. But I don't need to know any of the specifics. I can trust that my body knows what a pen is supposed to do to produce an archer, because God knows how many archers I've drawn over the course of my life.
So I'm curious. So is it very much like almost like continuous line? Is it because they mention it as like
no. It's all. I mean, it's all super sketchy.
Yeah.
It could be one swirl for like 40 strokes, and then I'll just pick up and do like a pepper of patch marks. I don't know why my body will have the impulse to do what it does. It's just that when I just let it do it, in the end, there's like 4 or 5 different things that pop out to me. Like you could do this angle, you could do this angle, you could do this angle, and they all work with anatomy. It's just like I have to pick which one feels the most dynamic and pull it out of the page, and then focus on that and let the rest of the scratch work recede back and disappear. Does it make sense?
No, 100%. It's that case of like to trust, because art is such a very you can't think about it too much. If you get caught up in the single lines and stuff like that, trying to do the perfect curve, like you're kind of missing the sort of bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Micromanaging your stuff kills the energy, and the more organic. My style is very organic. I am not a technical, architectural, engineering type mind. I'm a Bob Ross, happy tree, organic producer. And once I realized that organic flow can be built into human anatomy and gesturing, then the lid got lifted off.
Well, I was going to say, because it kind of feeds into like I must admit, you do have a distinct art style. It's that sort of like when looking across all your sort of like packs of characters and other drawings and stuff, it does carry across. You can sort of see the sort of just. I was about to call it whimsical. I don't know if that's the right word, but just sort of like I've not turned my brain off, but it's I trust the intuition of the art.
Yeah,
I guess I almost kind of have like a follow-on question of that. Is there any sort of like, is there any particular difference in when you're writing, when you're drawing for the drive-through or DMsGuild? Is it literally just the sort of the IP that you have access to, or is it like?
Yeah, it's IPs. Well, if it's something like if it's something that has a lot of general appeal, like my landscape stuff, for instance, if I'm doing forest vignettes or like coastal vignettes, there's so much universal application for that I may as well just put it on the DT, because I get a bigger percentage.
Yeah.
But so much of my design work right now is focused on MTG IPs that if I'm going to be depicting like a Demir monk, and he's got Demir symbols on him, I can only place I can put that is on the DMsGuild. But I can also take all that labeling and all the markings and stuff that would identify them as a specific guild, put those in as a separate layer, so that when the piece is done, I can put it out as a Demir art pack on the DMsGuild, but then I can peel off all the labels.
Oh, nice.
And then just make it like this is just a black clad badass monk.
Yeah.
So I can put that as a monk art pack on DTRPG and be productive there.
No, dude, that's smart business practice. Stuff like
Yeah.
getting the most out of your thing. So I guess the question is, so what particularly drew you to the sort of like the MTG D&D projects? You a big Magic the Gathering player?
I started playing in alpha back in college in early 90s.
Nice.
And I kept up with it for, maybe 4 or 5 years in which I actively played. But then, life takes you in other directions. And you can only invest in so many hobbies.
Yeah.
But I always kept my hand on the stick. What got me really compelled by it was that, Ravnica entered the guild. So it's now content that we can use to create off of. But what really got me on the path was I was developing a spell research supplement that basically is, if you're going to spend time researching books to create a new spell, instead of just going with it's going to cost you X gold and X amount of time, you can make it active loot. If you're going through a wizard's tower and you've gotten access to his library, what information can I actually peel out of it? So I built a spell code system where each book would contain X amount of code. And when you assemble enough code, you can then spend it on a spell of X level.
Oh, nice.
But then the conflict became, well, there's 8 schools of magic. That's bulky to have 8 different currencies that you would be trying to accumulate. And I was thinking, boy, it'd be really awesome if I could hedge that down, but what could I possibly do? And then they announced Ravnica is coming to the guild. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And then so 5 is a very quantum number to be able to work with, because it's a finite enough time, a finite enough amount of currency that is diversified, but it's not so sprawling that it becomes watered down. It's the perfect number for kind of reinventing how do you approach things. And the code works with 8 schools. If you want to build an illusion spell, you just got to get into an illusion set of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can break apart a magic item and you can harvest the energy from that to convert that into code. You can take spell books from illusionists and peel apart their spells and take chunks of code from that, and you can pull that all together, and then now I can do Phantasmal Killer.
Yeah. So I guess my next question then. What was the inspiration behind trying to like essentially pull apart the spellcasting system, or like the way you sort of learn spells? Was it just like a personal frustration, or?
It's I think like most people that create on the DMs Guild is that they're active DMs, or if they're like focused on building character stuff, they're active players. But I never play, I always DM, because I hate screwing up people's characters. So if you're DM, it's like, this is your fault, man. If you get yourself killed, that's on you.
Yeah.
And I've been a player for such a long time, since like for 32 years now I've been gaming. And I started as a player, and it just felt bad when a decision that people trusted me to make got themselves killed. And that was just too much pressure for me. So
you want to be the guy putting the bear traps in the room. If they step on them, then
that's right. And if I'm consistent and provide good description about the environment, then they have clues to pick up on. And if they miss it, then new character, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel bad about that, because that wasn't my decision. So having said all that, when I'm running a game, people will try to do things. I'm like, it would be really fun if there was a mini game inside of that, or what you're trying to do with your character. I think it'd be really fun if we could build mechanics that allow you to do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
So that's where it got started.
And so as well, so you've technically got like 2 streams of the sort of the revamping spellcasting. Obviously, you have the universal spell points, and then obviously the shifting it into tap, untap, burn 5 color.
Oh yeah, the title is sprawling. Tap, untap, burn 5 color mana spell point variant rules core mechanics is the book that's coming out in May. It is I build titles around SEM and SEO optimization. So my titles are search links. Like if anyone puts in color mana, they find it. If anyone puts in tap mana, they find it. If anyone puts in Ravnica, they'll find it because it's in the description. But like color spell points, mana spell points, spell point variant rules, these are things that I used to do searches for back in the day when I wanted to explore the idea of Magic the Gathering being in Dungeons and Dragons before it became official. So these are things I'd find. I'd find forum listings and stuff like that. But now, as these books are gaining popularity, I'm who you find.
No, dude, it sounds. It's honestly, hearing you say it, it's like, oh my god, yeah, you're playing like 4D chess. It's like, I hadn't really thought about like putting that much sort of like, that much sort of consideration into a title to make sure it's that easily.
Yeah, my background is in digital optimization and marketing tools. So when I think about how am I building things, I'm thinking iterations, and I'm thinking long tail searches. Like the more specific you get about the things that I build, the more you're going to really want to get into what I build.
So what is it? So artist, designer, also sort of marketing. You're like you have many arms, many hats.
Yeah, I do. I've been an artist for 40 years, professionally for 20. And then I've been into digital marketing for 10. And I only started writing 3 years ago. So like all the things that take you forever to figure out, I started first. and then, I mean, like DMing for 30 years. So like I've got all this long history of stuff that really set me up to a place where I can now create products that make sense, that are mechanically balanced across 5 different iterations of D&D, and I can ultimately step back from like core mechanics is like the last big book, the first and last big book I plan on doing. It's 76 pages, 26,000 words, and it was building the mechanics is what took the longest for it. And then the artwork is taking a lot. But now that all the tools are built, I can strip out pieces of it. Like I'm putting together a collaboration team for building warlocks off of the 10 guilds. Each guild has its own patron. The guild itself has its own pact because they're guild pacts. Yeah. So you've got 10 warlocks with 10 patrons, 10 pacts. And all of that I can pull out of basic core mechanics and then iterate. So I can bring in 3 or 4 people onto the team. It's like it lets you take 2 or 3 of these things, use the mechanics, and then build out guilds so that if you want to be a Gruul warlock, this is what that guy's going to do. So does that make sense? No,
100%. Honestly, yeah. From just you sort of like contextualized how it all sort of makes sense. And yeah, no, I mean, like I hadn't really thought of like what being an Azorius warlock, what would that look like and stuff like that. And it would be something in the case like in your head you'd be like, oh no, they just wouldn't exist. But to actually have something saying, oh no, they could. This is how they would be. Is
absolutely, they're bound to law. Their pact is with law. Their patron is the pact itself, the guild itself. And then you just start looking at what are different white and blue effects, what are things that are lawful in alignments, and you just tie all that stuff together with invocations, a unique spell list that you get from 1 to 5, and then some unique perks for the packs. Like for Gruul, I'm thinking like completely physical, like kind of like an off hexblade, but it's all actual physical. Like you don't like magic a blade to. It's like the pack itself is fueling you for additional damage. Or like Battle Master type effects. Yeah, there's just as one of the 10 examples.
No, dude, I think that's what's nice about the color combinations in Ravnica and stuff like that. It does give you a lot to play with. Yeah, and there's a lot of cool themes and a lot of cool things. So to sort of bring it back, I guess, to your creative process as a whole. Then, so I guess we'll go through it like almost one by one. Sure. From like an artist, from like an art standpoint, what's your favorite part of the process?
For art, my favorite part is when I've got the swirl going, and I've gotten enough mash on the page that I can sit back and just let it come out. Like that first discovery when it's like, oh, I can see, like you'll see it on the stream. It's like I can see you, and then I'll start pulling that person out of the mess. It's like I can see who that is inside of that cloud, and it's like, as the details of the form start to become more apparent, I start to build a relationship with who that character is going to be, or what that scene is, or what this creature is.
So it's kind of like you set yourself up to give yourself eureka moments.
Yeah. I literally have no idea what's going to come out of it, and it's it's consistently pleasing about the results that I can find inside of there.
Nice. And then I guess so. The counterpoint then, is there any particular like part of like when it comes to sort of commissioning a piece or doing art that is your least favorite part?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Once you have that, once that image snaps into focus and you know what it can be, it's a fight between detail and time. How much time can I invest to build the best piece available?
Yeah.
And like if I'm doing a $250 commission, I'll put 16 hours into that one character, as opposed to the book I'm doing has 60 illustrations. I'll give myself like 6 hours max for that particular page. So there's a high difference between basically the price point is the matter. Like if someone's willing to invest that much money for me to make their character badass, that is going to be a badass character, and I'll put the hours in to make sure of it.
So I guess I kind of have a question. So when it comes to like doing art for your own products and stuff like that, how do you decide what needs art?
So I do the writing after it goes through an editor to make sure that the copy is good and mechanics are clear. Then it gets handed back to me. I do the page layouts. I do this all in Word. So I'll do the page layouts. And then depending on what the text density is on a page determines if I need a piece of spot art, a half page, a third page, or whatever. It's like the gaps will be there.
Okay. And then you just go through that process of just like, okay, well, I know something needs to go here. Let's see what my mind can churn out.
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, it's in a Word doc, so I'll export it as a PDF.
So you actually draw on the page?
Yeah, I export that page as a PDF, drop it into Photoshop, and then whatever gap is there, that's where I draw the image. So I know how it's filling the space.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so I can see why you go through the whole process of making sure it's editing and layout first, and then just sort of slot the art in.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's larger production companies use modular sizing so that they know that they've got like X amount of eighth pages, X amount of third pages, X amount of half pages. And they script out the layouts so that they know where those pieces are going to be able to drop into position. But when you're working more intimately with the project as a small publisher, you have massive creative control over it. So I can, if I can build a piece and it runs away from me and it's like, oh, this is going to end up being larger than I expected, or it's going to go in a direction that I absolutely won't let go of because I like how it feels, I can then drop it onto the page in Word and then rearrange the text so it flows around the image. So
I know it's fascinating. It's kind of interesting because like it's easy to sort of look at the many different like the layout roles, the art roles, the writing roles, the editing roles as like, I don't know, like 5 pillars, like not pillars, but like spread apart. Like there's interaction when they hand over the work between, but being like multi-talented to sort of blend those roles into I imagine it's quite fulfilling to see it all sort of come together.
Yeah, especially when you put it out there and people get it.
Yeah,
like the universal spell points and high magic I put out, I've only gotten positive feedback from people that are picking it up. It works, it makes sense, and so when I finish that piece, I drop it on. I drop it out there, and I'm satisfied with however it resonates in the community because I have 100% confidence that this is as good as I'm going to get it.
Nice. So as you mentioned it, this a mechanical design product. Let's go through the same sort of questions then. So when it comes to sort of like trying to create a new mechanical system or pull something apart, what's your favorite part? Like where do you start?
The answers are the same.
Really?
Yeah, because you'll get an idea about. It would be cool if we converted like for 5-color mana. It would be, the idea was it would be cool if we could take spell slots per day and convert it into a floating mana pool that was colored the 5 different colors, and then align the spells so that if you want to cast a red spell, you have to have red mana to be able to do that. And when you drive through all the mechanics and test it and it works, that is incredibly satisfying. So it's just, yeah, when you realize all the math works, all the mechanics work, that it's balanced to the game system, and that it's a perfectly viable alternative to what already exists, nothing more satisfying.
So actually, you touched on an interesting point there. So when it comes to testing, what sort of testing do you typically do for these sort of systems?
There's a lot of different pieces. I have a team that I DM for each week.
Nice.
And they'll let me do anything I want. So like starting next week, what we're going to do is I already use a modified initiative system where all y'all just decide what you want to do as a team. I'm going to decide what I do for the opponent's side of the scenario, and then let's see how those things interact.
So it happens in like almost in unison.
Yeah. It's like, and so the way that we're going to approach it moving forward is everyone decides. I would ask, when you make a decision about what you're going to do, you're locked in. I mean, this isn't novel. There's been a number of YouTubes and stuff about this kind of stuff. So it's not like it's my idea. I'm just standing on the shoulders of giants. But what happens is, since everyone goes at the same time, whoever had the highest die result of their intended action that round is first to decide what they're going to do next round. So if you roll a natural 20 this round with your action, you're going to decide what's going to happen first next time. So you start having a hierarchy there. What I'm going to do from now on is we're all going to roll dice as a pool. So if you got 4 people on your team, everyone rolls their 4-sided die, and then we get to pick as a team who gets which die.
Nice. Okay.
And so you could decide, well, initiative is going to be important next round. So even though I don't necessarily need a high die roll, I'm going to take it so that I have that hierarchy. Like if you have a fighter that's got 4 attacks this round, he's going to contribute his 1 die, and then he's going to have a pocket of 3 dice that he throws separately for his other attacks. So like a fighter's like, I've got 3 more attacks, I can afford to take that too, so that the rogue can have an 18 to hit with a sneak attack. For example.
Okay, so it's a fascinating system.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And all my players roll everything. As a DM, I never touch the dice. I do nothing. All spell casting is an attack roll. And so like if you roll an 18, you're probably going to defeat their spell resistance. Like they'll auto fail their save if you're rolling really high.
And so your sort of like spell systems and stuff like that, you've sort of like ran it through, I imagine, like week by week with everyone, and sort of get that sort of feedback.
The initial test on initial testing, like when I get like with the mana system, the initial idea, what I did was I built a number of 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th level characters, and then took a lot of the content that's out there for solo play, and then I'll run through the solo thing and see how often I get killed. If I get killed more often than I survive, then it's balanced. if I survive on my own, with a choose your own adventure format, and I'm always beating the enemies, then chances are what I got is too strong. Once I have that solid feeling that I know mechanically this is sound, let's see how it plays with other people, I can start pushing out pieces of it. Like I want to test spells per day, see how well the points are going to weigh out how often people are going to actually go through spells in a game system, in a gaming day. So I can hand out parcels of code of different spell material, and see how the team interacts with it. Like right now, I've got the team has been playing with the concentration mechanics for the past 6 months, where there's no duration to spells. It's just how long can they get through shit and not lose their concentration. Because they're always rolling dice, and every time they're doing stuff, they could botch, and if they're botching, that's going to blow your concentration.
So that kind of makes sense. Like I imagine, they
so far works really well.
Wizards kind of they train themselves. I mean, not notoriously known for stamina, but being able to focus on the spell for longer than an hour, that seems like that would be important.
Yeah, it's which is what helped come with the attrition mechanics, which is, well, you've been holding on to that haste spell now for 5 hours in game, far beyond what its normal duration would allow. What do I need to do to challenge your dice pool so that you're throwing more mana away per day, so I'm actually burning through your stack? And that led to attrition, which is a fatigue mechanic that when you're going through an adventuring day, if circumstances arrive, like if you're going through like if you catch a room on fire and it fills it with smoke, you start to choke. is that choking enough to knock out your concentration? So then you start building in mechanics for all 6 stats. So you're just constantly challenging people. So if they're really crappy with intelligence, you can build you can build challenges in that are going to challenge people's intelligence. So like if you have a paladin that's maintaining Shield of Faith forever, and you want to hit him with something, then maybe you'll fatigue his intelligence because like they've been searching a room and it's been particularly challenging, or
they've got to split their brain. They've got to do some thinking, which
that's right. And if I write too many words in a row, I get sleepy, and then there goes your spells. So, yeah, as one example.
No, it's interesting, and I think that's the common case for so many DMs, at least DMs and creators. The fact that they use their players as guinea pigs. Yeah.
Right. And when you have a great player that trusts you as a DM, they're willing to go along with it. They're like, yeah, sure, let's play this for a while and see how it goes.
So I guess to the flip side then, when it comes to like the mechanics and systems, is there any particular part that is your least favorite?
I would say it's the same, which is having to grind out all the text, make it all right. Trying to get to a point where I don't have to lean too heavily on an editor. Once you go through a process and you get the language back from a technical editor and a copyright editor, that's code you can lift and drop. You can cut and paste it. It's like I know this word format is accurate, so if I can use that and change the descriptors that are inside of it or the nouns inside of it, the code is still valid. But am I building new things that I need to have new editing processing to make sure that what I'm trying to express is proper? And I think that's my largest frustration, is that I'm not good at that. Yeah. I am horrible. I'm great at building ideas. I'm not so good about making them concise on paper.
And so, I mean, yeah, again, it's almost a slogan of this podcast now that editors they're worth their weight in gold.
Oh my God, yes!
Please support all types, all shapes and forms that editors come in. They're the godsend of the DMsGuild.
Because you might have a great idea, but if no one understands what you're trying to say, who cares?
Yeah.
Or if your idea is bad, a good technical editor is going to tell you that's a bad idea. You need to do this different. No, like, the idea is cool, but the way you're doing it's bad.
All the editors, lovely people. I've been fortunate enough to I've yet to work with an editor that hasn't been an absolute delight to work with.
Agreed.
So I guess the next question then, so to sort of reflect back on your upcoming anniversary of 1 year. So it's your 1 year on DMsGuild is coming up this April.
It was actually in January.
In fact, so I got my dates wrong.
It's all good.
So I'm extra late with the cake, is what you're saying.
Yes, very very late. It would be stale. No needs.
So across the year and a bit, are there any sort of particular lessons that you wish you kind of learned earlier, like across anything really? I'm just
collaboration is good. Get it since I can literally wear every hat. Staying in a tight focus creates efficiency. If you have a passion project that like this is mine, it has to be mine, it has to be the way that I want it to make sure it's done right. Great, but that's going to take you a lot of time, and you will be sacrificing that time for your control. I would say to actually answer the question is I wish I had learned earlier to let go of that control, to trust the people that I bring in and to be able to produce the results that I'm ultimately looking for, so that I can collapse timeframes and get more ideas out there.
Yeah, it's interesting because the message of getting involved in collaboration, yours is a little bit different from the standard one. Like, cause typically it's writers saying, "Oh, I should get involved in more," but yours is much from the mindset of like, I should like start more collaborations. I need to bring people into my projects rather than sort of latch onto others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can turn out like an 8 or 10 page piece like in a couple of weeks, but if I'm going to do a Warlock book with 10 packs for 10 patrons for the 10 guilds in Ravnica, that's a lot of lifting. It would take me 5 months to produce that by myself. And if I can bring in 3 or 4 people for that particular piece, then I could probably knock it out in a month, for example. And that's just putting more ideas out there for more people to play with, for more people to riff on, which creates more opportunities to bundle good ideas together into packs.
And I'm curious, so what was the sort of the tipping point that sort of helped you sort of I was about to say let go of your babies. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but the sentiment of I don't need to work on this alone. This is something that I can. Was there a particular tipping point, or?
I think it happened probably 3 months ago when I started actually producing the art that's going into the core mechanics book for Tap on Tap Burn. And I had a stack of 60 illustrations that were going to take probably 6 hours a piece to do. And I'm part-time, so I've got a day job and I've got family. And so decisions have to be made. And I'm like, if I'm going to keep, I mean, if I could turn out a book all by myself, like every other week, then that's a really good stream. But with current constraints, if I don't collaborate, I'm not going to be able to produce. So, did I answer that?
No. I hope so. Yeah. I mean, like 3 months ago, but no, you sort of tackled kind of answered that once you sort of, when you're throwing out like a mountain of work, the idea of like, I could probably move some chunks into smaller chunks and get some help with this.
Yeah, what I want to do is, because art is the most starved resource on the DMsGuild. The art that is provided through stock art for free by Wizards is heavily churned. So unique new art is what ultimately people are demanding. So as a collaborator, what I can do is provide the theme, basic rule set, mechanics to go with that theme, layout, and art. And then I can have other people actually just do the design and the writing off of what that theme is. And then as they start feeding pieces to me, I can put it into the book, and then that creates my spaces, and then I can collaborate with the people on whose page is this. This is Matthew's page. Great. Matthew, what were you thinking about when you did this? Let's see if I can cloud something on that. And then I can create artwork that's to flavor with what you thought, which you then would potentially be able to pick up and use in other products. Like if you're really into elves and you're doing some elf stuff, it's like, I've always wanted to have an elf that can blah. It's like, well, let's see if I can punch out something that makes sense for this book. That's an elf doing blah that you can pick up and use for yourself later. So I just become a resource. That's ultimately where I want to get to. Just be a resource. Since I've got all the skills that you need to be able to build a book, is like, what resources can I be most useful for people to produce what they want? So
I guess I kind of have like a question stemming from that then is when it comes to the being commissioned for art involved in projects, at what stage do you like to be involved in? Because I know some people kind of go through the whole process of writing the whole thing, and then they sort of say, now can I get some art? Or like, because I imagine it's your own process. You like to have the words go through an editor to be almost like the final form. Like, like if I were to commission you, hypothetically speaking, when would be the best time to sort of bring you on board?
So almost all the other, like all the stuff on DTRPG, those were all modular design. We know we need a fourth page here. We need a half page here. We need blah, blah, blah. And then they would have a theme for the page, and then they would just give me the gig. It's like, hey, we need a spider that hunts people in the winter. Like, okay, I can do that. Yeah. So, here's a half page. It's a spider eating somebody in the winter. So here's, most of those projects, it's just plug and play. It's like, here you go. This is what we need you to do there. For DMsGuild, honestly, the amount of work that can go into illustrations, it becomes a dicey return. Depending on what your percentage is. Like if I'm making less than 10% on a book, that book needs to have a really high price point to make it worth me investing 20 hours into a cover.
Of course, yeah.
So where I would want it, ultimately what I like to do is if I'm the PM, then I get my cut as a project manager, and then I can justify the artwork because it's my project. If you're working with me, you're going to get good art. Yeah. Period. It's that on itself is motivating. But if I'm being hired into somebody else's project, I'll want to either do layouts, writing, and art. Like two of those three things.
Yeah.
So it's a meaningful enough cut of it that it's like, I'm willing to invest my time in this because I know the return's going to be good, especially if I help make sure it's a good product.
No, I think that makes sense. It's further evidence of the business mind that you have. Sure. All right, well, cool. Well, I guess to sort of like moving the podcast along and stuff like that. Sure. You kind of so you kind of touched on some of this stuff before. with the sort of like the many sort of warlocks, and I imagine doing the every class for the Ravnica guilds and stuff like that. Maybe
it's worth considering. It's worth considering.
Is there like a singular dream project that you have?
Two things I definitely want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is realistic, which is a Groundhog Day adventure toolkit, which is the campaign that I'm actively currently running. They're 8th level. We've been playing for a year and a half, and they've been reliving the same day, literally for 8 levels over the course of a year and a half in real time, of them either dying or waking up.
Yeah.
And they have to start over again, and they are figuring out different ways to explore different spaces to be able to expand and push further off of where they wake up drunk at the or hungover at the pub.
Mm-hmm.
And like the day begins, and like they know 3 steps from here that guy's going to drop a mug. We know the mayor's going to be over there, and it's like they know this stuff. And so taking all the things that have happened in that campaign can all be extracted into tools that can be built into your own Endless Day campaign. And so that is a not too far horizon project that I am going to produce. And the other thing that is far more pie in the sky is an Eberron space opera campaign conversion kit, where the world of Eberron is as though it was a space opera, like Battleship Yamato or Gundam, Robotech, looking at taking airships to the extreme in a sort of Spelljammer flavor, where the different nations on Eberron are their own floating asteroids or planets, and the conflicts that you have of being in a space opera, like the world of Karnath engaging Brayland in spacefaring war or whatever. So
no, I do both of those both of those ideas sound amazing. I like the fact that like trying to like systemize, like my mind is just caught up in the Groundhog Day one, and now it's like racing with it. It's
so fun.
It's such a cool idea. I'm curious. Yeah,
there's these kill house. So one of the mechanics is a kill house, where there's zero mercy. If they make the wrong mistake, they die, and they have to reset and start over. So I will lead them into these dungeons where they know they're going to just get slaughtered repeatedly. So the incentive for them to go through it has to be high. Like I know I'm going, like for example, the last kill house they went into, the prize that they got from it was a ritual that would allow them to set a new anchor point for where they would wake up.
Oh, I see.
And they have a it was so perfect. They let me build their characters. And so when I built their characters initially, we started with a Horizon Walker Ranger and a Dream Druid. So the Dream Druid has the campfire ability where it makes a safe zone. That comes at level 6. So at level 6, I introduced the ritual that would allow them to actually use that class feature, but I wouldn't give it to them until they actually got the book. So now that they have the book, they can spend an hour long performing a ritual, and it'll create a new set anchor point. And they can wake up at that point, and they can start moving through the world because they're setting new anchor points. But every time they do that, they draw attention to things that are temporally aware.
So I take it your players, they don't know why they're waking up on the same day yet, or are they getting close?
They don't know. They know they're waking up the same day, but and they the scenario started that they found their way into this crazy temple that was in the small little town that they were growing up in that no one knew was there. And as soon as they got into it, it was very like El Hazard, in that they were waking up technology, and it triggered things to happen. And a nearby shamanic tribe of orcs just happened to roll up on the place at the same time while they're poking through. It's like, you should not be here. This is not your place. And when they got through the conversation with the orcs recruited them to help them, and they didn't know what that meant. It's like, we just know there's things happening here, and there's a huge quest involved with freeing possessed people with these entities that control their body, that like they're born with these things inside of them, and they evolve with them like soul riders. They evolve with them as they grow up, and at some point they start steering control of this person. And the beginning of the campaign is all those souls woke up. And as soon as all those souls woke up, that is what is happening. Souls are taking over the world that are in all these prestigious positions. Like kings have these hidden souls in them that now have a completely agenda, and they're driving their nation in new directions. And they're all because of this temple that they found. So these orcs show up and says, we need you to help us resolve all these souls that don't belong here. And so when they agreed to it, they tapped them on the head, and then they woke up again. Like, we're trapped in here, but the orcs never came back. They got through 3 days of actual adventure before the orcs showed up and tapped them on the head. And as soon as that happened, the next time they went to sleep, they woke back up, hung over at the bar, and they've never been able to get back to the orcs again because they keep getting trapped up in the days. So they're trying to find a way to either get to the orcs sooner or survive long enough for the orcs to show up. So now that they're 8th level, they can actually ask serious questions, because this happened on level 1. It's like they were way overpowered. They basically had to go along or they were dead. And that's what they believed. So they took the agreement and they got pulled into the machine, and now they've just been getting chewed on ever since. And they've been trying to find a way. Why is this happening? We can't get any information. Everyone that is temporally aware hates us. It's a great campaign.
No, honestly, this sounds like one of the coolest campaigns I've ever heard of.
It's a really good one. I've ran multiple campaigns from level 1 to 20 in 3rd and 5th edition. I did Dark Sun past level 20 back when they were 30 level campaigns.
Yeah.
So I've got a ton of experience running like 3.5, 27th level Gestalt campaigns in Planescape. So like there's no degree of ability a character can have that I can't create challenges for at this stage. 5th edition is so kind compared to 3rd edition and Pathfinder because of the bounded accuracy, the way that the D20 mechanics work. I can outclass anybody easily. I mean, it just has higher armor class than you can hit. It can deal more damage than you can take.
Yeah.
And then you can just scale it pretty much to any level. So then it becomes, I'm not afraid of anything that a player can do in the campaign. How can I then build the campaign to torture them most? And this has been my best solution so far.
No, honestly, that's wow. I may borrow an idea or two from that. It's no, honestly, wow, dude. That's a dream project for me as a purchaser. So to see how that turns out.
I got to finish all this magic stuff first, and so God willing, I'll actually have that on my plate.
It's fine. Assuming I don't get caught in a Groundhog Day, I can be patient enough to wait.
Right on. It's just a matter of time. It's really, really fun.
Nice.
It's just a matter. But the campaign is so built around those characters. You have to extract the lessons that you're learning from them. What happens if you don't have a dream druid? Then you need to make sure that the ritual's in there so that a bard or a wizard or a cleric or anybody that learns about it can use it, so that you've got people that can make these set points so they can push themselves, for example.
I mean, it also I imagine it almost introduces new types of magic and spells to sort of, again, to interact with this temporal element, because there's not is time stop, is that a divination spell?
It's alteration, I believe.
Fair. Yeah, I can sort of see that. It's like whatever label they slap on that.
I call it blue. It's a blue spell.
That's time warp. That's very blue.
Yep.
Nice. So the next, keep shifting our view towards the DMsGuild community as a whole. Is anyone in the DMsGuild community that particularly inspires you?
Let's see. RP Davis had the original Facebook page, and then helped build into the Discord. I certainly respect his work. Justice Armin creates cool stuff.
Very wholesome. Very lovely.
Yeah, Ryan Langer was my first PM on a collaboration project, and
I think same for me. We're on the same boat on that one.
Brian Holmes is just very supportive of my work in general, and is a really good touchstone for me to head check myself on things occasionally. The more people I run across, the more I learn to respect what they're bringing to the table. Like Core Artificer, he's been doing Ravnica stuff since we could start doing Ravnica stuff, and his lore is extensive, and he's he's really well grounded into the material. I really respect that. It's hard. It's hard. It's the more names. It's like once I recognize a name, I know why I recognize them, and it's like, yeah, you've got chops.
Yeah. No, I always like I like having that question just because obviously it lets people know that obviously this is a community and we're also. But I do always feel a little bit evil asking it because it's immediately putting people on the spot. Like we could literally have a whole podcast where we just talk about amazing people in the thing. That may be a Christmas episode. Very nice. Sort of wholesome.
That would be appropriate.
But yeah, but yeah, no, it's I think it's nice to every so often be like, yeah, no, this is a good community. We've got some good eggs in here and stuff like that. So I guess as we are slowly approaching the hour of our podcast and stuff like that. You kind of you've kind of touched on this question before, but like, do you want to get it like in concrete about what sort of projects you're currently working on?
Oh, okay. So let's see. The core mechanics book will be done in May, and all I'm doing right now is artwork for that. I mean, it's done except for the art. In the hopper, there is the 5-color guide to Ravnica, which peels out color mechanics from core and then applies it to the guilds that operate only in 2 colors. Like the core mechanic book, it deals with, you're a wizard, you've got a mana pool, and you're using all 5 colors. But in Ravnica, each guild is dedicated to only 2 colors. So how and why would that work? And the answer is it's actually really simple. It's just, it's got to get built. Yeah. And then there's the simplified shapeshifting. Which is something I've been playtesting with my druid for the past 1.5 years, where instead of going through the monster manual to look for a form that you can use for mechanical advantages, there's set statistical advantages that you get at each level. And so as you scale up, it's like I could be a bear, or I could be a cougar, or I could be another large size creature or whatever. But
let's go with elephant.
Yeah, large size creature, and then you either have combat, defense, or utility. And so when you wild shape, you choose which one do you want. I want to be a combat form. So you could be a bear, you could be a utility bear, you could be a defensive bear, or you could be a combat bear. Okay. And it'll modify what your character can do. So instead of having a book that you're flipping through, what form is going to be best for me overall? It's like it doesn't matter. You can be a unicorn if you want, but you're a defense unicorn, so that means you're going to get these defensive advantages. So that's a book that's in the works. And let's see. Those are the 2. I think those are the 2 that are next on my plate.
Nice. That's an exciting project, and I must admit, it's kind of fascinating to hear these approaches, like to like, again, core systems. Like I wouldn't have thought of looking at them in this sort of unique way. It's kind of
spelled like shape changing, wild shape, polymorph, and shape change in animal forms are the spells that are the most annoying, I think, for DMs and players to mitigate, because 5th edition, I don't know if they were just trying to sell monster manuals or what, but having to comb through a book to find statistics is like, can I do that or not? It's like with the universal wild shaping, I haven't gotten a title lockdown yet, but it's you don't care anymore. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be a flying creature that size small. I know I can do this or this. Yeah. So it could be a sparrow, it could be a crow. Who cares?
I mean, yeah, most people, like when they choose animals that they sort of wild shape into, it is very much like it's either one of 2 things. Either it's a flavor choice, or it is like a sort of purely like mechanical choice. And it would be nice to get that sort of beautiful middle ground.
Separate them. Yeah, you separate them, so it doesn't matter. You have whatever flavor you want, and then like you could deep dive. Like, I can only do this. Yeah. It's like, well, then maybe you can use more of those mechanics at the same time, because you can only turn into a spider, for example. Well, if I can only turn into a spider, I can do utility and combat at the same time. Or like Circle of the Moon could do 2 things instead of just 1. But then if you specialize Circle of the Moon down to 1, you can do all 3. It's like, I'm just going to hang out as a spider all day, and I'm just going to get bigger and deadlier as I gain levels, which I think is completely appropriate.
Yeah. Although I will say, I don't think I actually want to hang out with a druid that spends all their time in giant spider form.
If you're playing a dark elf campaign, it's
no,
awesome.
it's true. I don't know. I just feel like, I like to see people's faces instead of just their mandibles.
Okay.
That for me, that's the entry level for conversation. Like, do they have mandibles? If yes, I'm all right. I'll talk to the next person.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, well, okay, cool. No, dude, again, so much. You've got a lot of exciting stuff coming on. I'm looking forward to it all.
The guild is a joy. I for whatever reason, I never thought about putting any of my ideas down on paper until I just stumbled into it.
Yeah.
So,
do you remember how exactly you stumbled into it, or?
Huh?
Do you remember how you stumbled into the guild? Like, was it just like a?
Oh, it was when one of my players said, "Do you ever write any of this stuff down?" And my answer was no.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe you should write that stuff down because it's kind of cool. It's like, well, how well written could I actually make it? And then that made me start exploring where I found DMsGuild communities. I'm like, there's actually some really solid content on the DM, because I didn't pay attention to the DMsGuild until maybe 3 years ago. And then I was like, I don't know if I got the time for that sort of stuff. And then just something flipped in my head. It's like, no, this is your path. Because the problem is that I can't get paid when I want to get paid to do the artwork that I can produce. Like, I have to, like, even Paizo super shortchanges the amount you get. Like, if you want to get paid as a fantasy artist, you either have to build your own IP, or you basically got to get hired by Wizards of the Coast. And although I may eventually officially work for Wizards of the Coast doing art, it'd be a much faster path for me just to produce my own Magic the Gathering flavored books and then produce Ravnica art on my terms, because it's something they let me play with. And then once that started opening, I'm like, oh shoot, man! Like, one of my bucket lists was to do Magic art, and I've already achieved that. So now it's just a matter of how far do I want to go in which direction, and it's amazing.
No, it's awesome. So talking about all these sort of exciting things you have in the coming down the pipeline. If people want to, like, hear about them, or be able to get them once they're hot off the press, where's sort of the best place to get news about your work?
Twitter. Twitter at Fil Kearney, FilKearney. It's pretty straightforward. I post when I stream, because I do most of my production artwork online for people to watch on Twitch.
Nice.
I post finished work that I did there, either artwork or books. I do my promotional stuff on Twitter. So Twitter.
Yeah. Nice. Well, like I said, so the standard format is your Twitter handle would have been on screen. If people are listening in audio form, there'll be a link somewhere.
It's at Fil Kearney, FilKearney.
Beautiful.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I like how almost like a almost melodic.
Yeah, well, it's based off the Oscar Mayer theme song. So,
well,
Phil has a way.
Phil, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day for sitting down and having this chat. This has been insightful.
It's been a blast. I really appreciate you.
I need to sit down with some more artists. This has been I'm learning so much.
there's fantastic artists that are starting to show up on the guild and interacting with the teams. It's really cool.
Nice. Well, yeah, it's on my to-do list now, so it's locked in. It's happening.
But
yeah, so the classic way. Any suggestions on how you end a podcast?
The way that I end a stream is I'll be in the middle of painting something. I'll look at it and I'll say, I think that's done. It's time to go. And then I turn off the camera.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's even better. I think this podcast is done. It's well and truly done. So thank you very much for joining. I've been Matthew Whitby, and I've been joined by I need to remember which side you are. I've been joined by the lovely Fil Kearney. Be sure to tune in next week and like, favorite, subscribe, all that sort of influencer
definitely do
nonsense. And I'll speak to you guys later. This podcast is done. Goodbye.